Over the years, one horizontal shooter which I constantly find myself replaying over and over again is Blazing Star. Developed and released in 1998 by Yumekobo, Blazing Star is a side-scrolling space shooter set in a world where an advanced AI has taken over humanity and has stolen the minds of all humans. Standing in the way of complete domination are a group of cyborgs who team up to defeat the AI intelligence. Basically, it's the plot for The Matrix before the Matrix films were ever conceived. The game itself spans for around 8 levels that get progressively harder the further you get. The game also features up to 6 different cyborg pilots to choose from. It's always nice to see such a large variety of ships to choose in a space shooter such as this one. Blazing Star was originally meant to be a sequel to another horizontal shooter released for the Neo Geo, Polestar, developed and released in 1995 by Aecom. Blazing Star would have came out much earlier than 1998 if it hadn't been for Aecom leaving their previous publisher, the Sammy Industry, in 1996. The same employees who formed Aecom eventually joined SNK as a subsidiary under the name Yumekobo in 1996. From this point, the development team took steps to improve upon the gameplay seen in Polestar, which in hindsight had been a clone of the popular Irem series R-Type. Compared to other Neo Geo games, Polestar also had a super dark tone seen in levels, and while the game did feature some relatively good looking CGI animations, graphically, Polestar was nothing to really look at. And on top of everything, the game was extremely hard and frustrating. When playing Blazing Star for the first time, you notice the differences immediately. Gone are the constant checkpoint restarts which make you replay the stage anytime you die. Yumekobo also exchanged the dark shaded graphics in exchange for brightly detailed rendered game sprites and backgrounds. In Blazing Star, your objective is to defeat many machines produced by the advanced AI known as Brasheller. You have a regular attack consisting of forward-moving projectiles and a charge cannon that can be used by holding down the fire button. Throughout the stages, you actually have to complete several objectives. These objectives include attaining letter icons that spell out lucky, along with collecting various power-ups and bonuses. Yeah, this game loves to say bonus a lot, and it might drive you just a little bit crazy. Additionally, you also have to defeat the bosses at the end of the stages in a certain amount of time. Boss fights in the game get pretty tough. You have to defeat them in a certain amount of time, and in the later stages, you're given a very confined space to actually battle them in. Just like in a lot of shooters, you're ranked at the end of each stage, but in Blazing Star, you have a lot of objectives that you're actually scored on, such as your ability to collect bonuses, the letter icons, and also defeating bosses in a certain amount of time. If you can't do any of this, well, the game will remind you in the nicest way possible that you suck and you need to improve. As far as difficulty goes, well, the first 2 stages of the game can be completed with relative ease. But by the 3rd stage, well, things get hectic fast. You'll encounter more difficult enemies that you have to shoot down and more confined corridors. But difficulty aside, this is a game that you'll want to replay over and over again just to get that high score. Blazing Star probably stands out as one of the more visually impressive games on the Neo Geo. The game featured a mix of regular sprite artwork with pre-rendered elements. Now of course there were a few cases of slowdown, being that the game featured a lot of sprites moving on the screen at the same time, but this was pretty minimal. In most cases, these CG rendered sprites from the late 90s wouldn't hold up. But it's kind of the opposite with Blazing Star, as the game's graphics still look impressive to this day. And I should mention that the impressive artwork of this game was designed by Tomonori Nakokubo, chief designer for games such as Prehistoric Isle 2, developed in 1999. Unfortunately, this title and Blazing Star would be the last games he ever worked on. Blazing Star was released for the Neo Geo, MVS, and AES home console, along with being released for the Neo Geo CD. At one point, the game was even offered on the Wii Virtual Console, in Japan only. In 2017, the game was re-released as part of the Hamster Corporation's ACA Neo Geo series on most modern consoles. But of course, the easiest way to play this game is through emulation. If you haven't played Blazing Star yet, I highly recommend you check it out. That concludes this arcade review. Before we go, let me know what you think in the comments section. Did you play Blazing Star back in the day? How does it compare to other shooters released during this time? And as always, thank you for watching. Stay beautiful.